How's it going, everybody? My name is TheStarkz and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about the Game Awards, but in particular we're going to be talking about how The Last of Us Part 2 wins big at the Game Awards. Now, this article is provided by Deadline and it's going to be focused on all of the games that won this year for the Game Awards, which premiered last night actually from the time of this recording. So it reads, Naughty Dog's The Last of Us Part 2, created and directed by Neil Druckmann, swept the Game Awards on Thursday. A follow-up to the original 2013 video game, The Last of Us Part 2 took home a total of 7 awards at Geoff Keighley's annual awards show. Upon receiving the Game of the Year prize from Christopher Nolan, Druckmann expressed gratitude for his team and their supporters. More than anything, and I know I speak for the whole team, we'd like to thank our friends and family who stuck by us while we were making this game. You continue to inspire us in making better games, but also in how we make these games, The Last of Us creator had said. While The Last of Us Part 2 took home the Best Performance, Best Direction, as well as Game of the Year prizes, other big winners of the evening were Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Animal Crossing, and Among Us. While the 2020 Game Awards highlighted the accomplishments across the video game scene, a number of Hollywood names, including Brie Larson, Christopher Nolan, baby, John David Washington, Tom Holland, Keanu Reeves, and Gail Gadot stopped by to present the evening's various awards. There was other highlights that this article goes on to explain, like, some Among Us awards, as well as Future Days performance by Eddie Vedder, which was amazing, as well as learning some insight on how Neil Druckmann implemented his personal resonance to Future Days into The Last of Us Part 2, which makes The Last of Us Part 2 winning Game of the Year even more special, in my opinion. Now, as for the awards that won this year, I'm going to have a bunch of screenshots up just, showing you guys everything that won. So, Game of the Year, as we know, was awarded to The Last of Us Part 2. Best Game Direction was also awarded to The Last of Us Part 2, just as well as Best Narrative, which was given to, Neil Druckmann as well as Haley Gross, who did an exceptional job with the narrative in The Last of Us Part 2, in my opinion. Now, Best Art Direction wasn't given to The Last of Us Part 2, to my surprise, but actually Ghost of Tsushima, which I do believe was well-deserved. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima has amazing art. I think all the games that were nominated actually had great art direction. As for Best Score and Music, that was awarded to Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I'm not going to lie, I was a little bummed out by. And, people can call me a fanboy all they would like, but I'm not. I truly am not. There's a difference between being a fanboy and appreciating something that you like. We all like video games, and this year I loved The Last of Us Part 2. If you didn't, that's great. But I personally believe that The Last of Us Part 2 should have won this. I'm not saying Final Fantasy didn't deserve it. I'm saying that I believe that The Last of Us Part 2 was just as deserving of Best Score and Music. I'm not devaluing Final Fantasy. I'm just saying I love the music. And I think that's actually the more objective aspect to The Last of Us Part 2 that a lot of people probably enjoyed about it. As for Best Audio Design, that was awarded to The Last of Us Part 2, to no surprise. Best Performance actually surprised me. That was awarded to Laura Bailey as Abby, The Last of Us Part 2. Now, I believe, if I recall, I did vote for Laura Bailey to win just because, Ashley Johnson has an incredible career, and, she's been awarded for playing Ellie, I think, once or twice, she's a legacy in the video games industry now, and I think Laura Bailey was very much deserving of this win as Abby. I mean, the emotional or just the repercussion of playing Abby, this very conflicting character who kills Joel brutally, and getting all this hate from people. I think it was well deserved, and her speech was really showed how much she appreciates the award. And Laura Bailey, congrats to her. Games for Impact was awarded to Tell Me Why, a game I have not played, but I believe it was exclusive to Xbox. So I have an Xbox, but I don't play it. Best Ongoing Game was awarded to No Man's Sky, which I was disappointed by because I think another game should have won that. No Man's Sky was a huge disappointment in my opinion. I know for a fact that Hello Games is really about the community, and this is a very well-deserved win for them, but in my opinion, I think another game should have won because I think No Man's Sky had its chance. As for Best Indie Game, that was awarded to Hades from Supergiant Games, which I heard a lot of great things about Hades. Now, I don't know if that's on PlayStation 4. I have a PC, and I do have an Xbox. I unfortunately don't have the Switch, which I think a few people. I think the main fan base on Hades is either PC or Switch. But correct me if I'm wrong on that. Now, best mobile game was actually awarded to Among Us, which is great. The only issue I have with this is, isn't Among Us a 2018 game? So if that's the case, I don't think it should have been awarded for any. It should have been nominated for anything. But regardless, Among Us is a great game to play either on mobile or PC, and I think it was well deserving of this award. Best community support, in my opinion, should have went to Valorant or Fortnite, but it actually went to Fall Guys. And Fall Guys is a great game, don't get me wrong, but as a person who loves Valorant on PC and all the changes that the company has implemented from that game, as well as just Fortnite in general, I think those games should have at least won, in my opinion. But Fall Guys is a great game too. Now, innovation in accessibility, that award was given to nobody's surprise, The Last of Us Part 2. Nobody could argue that The Last of Us Part 2 has bad accessibility. You can say whatever you want about the story, but The Last of Us Part 2 has the best features for accessibility. And if anybody's out there that's hating on The Last of Us winning that, I honestly have a word for you, and that is just screw off, because it's not a joke to be trashing a video game that has these features. I mean, there's a lot of people who unfortunately are at a physical disadvantage, and I think every video game should have accessibility options that innovate from past the norm, and The Last of Us Part 2 exceeded that. Best VR/AR game, I was actually rooting for Star Wars Squadrons, which I think was also nominated, but that was given to Half-Life Alyx. Best action game, to my surprise, was given to Hades. Now, I haven't played Hades, but I think Doom Eternal was actually a game that was nominated for that. And as a person who appreciates Bethesda, I do think that Doom Eternal should have won. Now, best action/adventure game, to nobody's surprise, was given to The Last of Us Part 2, and that was very much deserving of that win. Best role-playing game, which to nobody's surprise probably, was given to Final Fantasy VII Remake from Square Enix. Best fighting game was given to Mortal Kombat 11. Best family game, Animal Crossing. Best sim/strategy was Flight Simulator from Microsoft. Best sports/racing game was Tony Hawk Pro Skater, which I do want to get eventually. Best multiplayer game was given to Among Us from Innersloth, so great job to them. Best debut game was given to Phasmophobia, which I have not played yet. Content Creator of the Year, presented by Adobe, was given to Valkyrae, who I don't watch, but congrats to her, I suppose. Best esports game was given to League of Legends, which I was bummed out about. I think that should have went to Valorant, which I believe was also nominated for this category. Best esports athlete was given to somebody I've never heard of, but his name is Hio Showmaker Sue from League of Legends. Best esports team was given to G2 Esports. Best esports event was given to League of Legends, and best esports host, which was given to somebody that I don't know how to pronounce this person's name. But regardless, The Last of Us Part 2 took home a total of 7 awards at last night's Game Awards. And to all the haters, too bad. Get over it. Get over it. Get over it. It won. Get over it. Nothing's rigged. Nothing's rigged. In fact, and I'm going to say my personal opinion here, I value the Game Awards far more than any player choice or player-based award, because there is a chance, let's say The Last of Us Part 2 won Player's Voice Award, right? I wouldn't value that award over Game of the Year or anything or any other award in the Game Awards, because these are critics, right? And these are professionals, paid professionals who make reviews for video games, right? Who appreciate the form of art. Nobody what's baffling to me is how toxic the gaming community is when it comes to critic feedback, right? Nobody's talking about how objective these critic reviews are. It's all subjective regardless. But I value the Game Awards because they take input from the critics more so than the players, right? Because I'm going to be honest, the average consumer is pretty damn dumb. The average consumer is very ignorant. The average consumer isn't able to formulate a very educated I guess complete judgment on a game. A lot of people said, I didn't finish The Last of Us Part 2. It just sucks, right? and they're going to downvote it and vote for Ghost of Tsushima or any other game, which is fine. They can vote for whichever game they want. But that's exactly why I actually value the Game Awards far more than any player awards or like consumer awards that we as a consumer can vote for. That said, what I was going to mention earlier is it's funny to me how in the gaming community nobody respects critics, but in the film industry, which a lot of people who play video games also watches movies, tend to value critics from the from the film industry. So I think there's a double standard in the video games industry. I think a lot of, like I said, consumers lack that fundamental comprehension of really good storytelling. And don't get me wrong, Ghost of Tsushima I'm sure is a great story, but I'm sorry to break it to you. The Last of Us Part 2 won Game of the Year. Get over it. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed or who has liked my video. I truly appreciate it. And without your support, your individual support, I wouldn't be here today. I genuinely enjoy making YouTube videos. And one more thing to address to people who are kind of confused. My channel isn't to be objective. My channel is to report on things on an objective outlet, report on what's there, the facts, and then use my judgment, my personal experience, my subjective opinions to formulate an opinion. That's how opinions work. And so for anybody who's thinking about commenting about my channel and my view and what I should do and what I should do, I want to give you a little bit of some pointers. Don't do that, right? You can have your opinion. You can tell me why you didn't like The Last of Us Part 2. But I don't want anybody flaming any games. I don't want any negative comments. I don't want anybody insulting myself, Naughty Dog, Neil Druckmann, The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, or any other video game out there, right? We all love video games, or at least I'm going to assume most consumers like video games, except for the ones that do something they don't like, right? Like The Last of Us Part 2, for instance. But I want to have a civil discussion, right? I want to be able to talk about video games and have a fresh, open perspective on video games. And, just as we do for films or other things that we like, I want to have that civil discussion. And I encourage it so much so in my comment section. But be civil, be respectful. And with that being said, I've been TheStarkz. Thank you for watching. Peace.